All right, so right now I'm gonna explain why I think that Nikola Jokic should not be the MVP this season, or like he should. He's gonna win it, obviously, but I think I agree with Nick Wright why he's one of like the worst MVPs of all time, and my reasonings are number one. Well, it's just mainly like this reason. It just feels kind of like a cheated year. I can't think of another MVP. I haven't watched basketball for very long, but um, this year just feels kind of cheated. Like if you look at the standings. The Nuggets are the 4 seed right now. And if they end up at the 3 seed, okay, this whole argument's done. I don't care. Jokic can win. So, in NBA history, only 4 players all ever have won MVP that are below the 4 seed. And if you look at those players' numbers, one of them is Russell Westbrook. If you look at those players' numbers, Jokic does not have good enough numbers to be one of those guys. Like, his numbers are obviously amazing. Jokic is really good at basketball. But those guys, he's not in the group. I also there was other MVP candidates that were better than him before, but it just came out of games played. Like the Lakers, for example. And the reason why I say this is because the reason why I said that earlier about how 4 seed and 3rd seed thing is because if the Lakers never got injured, they would have been the 1 seed. So that like the 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, at least I guarantee it. So then you would move the Jazz, Clippers, Phoenix, and all them down. And then when you move them down, the Nuggets become the 5 seed, which means that they actually, even if they could become the 4 seed, they actually did worse this season with Jokic being the MVP than they did last season, which is like okay. And people saying, oh, Jamal Murray's out. That doesn't mean anything because MPJ stepped up since then. He still plays great defense, and he averaged 25 points every night now. So he really stepped it up. And he's actually doing better than Jamal Murray was when he stepped it up. And Jokic still isn't the 3rd seed. If Jokic ends up as the 3rd seed, then if the Lakers stayed healthy, he would have been the 4th seed, which is like, okay, fine, this whole thing is invalid. I don't care anymore. But if he didn't get injured, if the Lakers didn't get injured, then he would have been the 5 seed. His numbers wouldn't have been good enough, and he wouldn't have won away to Chris Paul. 2, there was other candidates before him that just got injured, and it's just ending up to games played. It just doesn't feel like that good of a year. Like, for example, you have LeBron James. When he was here for, like, the first, like, beginning of games, like, the season, he was number 1 MVP. Second was Embiid. Then it dropped down. Then LeBron dropped down to 2, and Embiid was in 1. It feels like Jokic should have been, like, the Paul George of, like, the James Harden and Giannis one, when James Harden won in 2018. Like, I feel like it should have been like that because he was always, like, the 3rd candidate, but he was never higher until people started getting injured, like LeBron. And even when LeBron got injured, other people started stepping up, like Dame Lillard. He started balling. Embiid was still number 1, but Dame was usually number 2 or 3, battling with Jokic. But the issue with Dame is that his whole team got injured as soon as he was balling. So that's why he like fell off, because his standings went lower and everything like that. But that's why I think that Jokic is just like kind of like a cheated year. Also, Embiid got injured too. I just want to let you know, just in case you didn't know. Embiid got injured too. It just feels kind of cheated. It's an okay MVP. I don't agree with Nick Wright saying that it's the worst in 35 years. I think Steve Nash's is probably worse because Jokic's numbers are better. But it's definitely not even close to one of the greatest of all time. Like any MVP from last decade, like 2010s, I would have that player over Jokic this season. I don't feel like it's that good of a season. I feel like people are overrating him a little bit. I feel like he's a really good player. I feel like he could have won MVP next season or a season after that. He's definitely going to be an MVP candidate for like his whole career. I think that, but I think this year he should have just been like the Paul George, honestly. But yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.